Okay, here we are back in one of our part studios in the two-piece puzzle project that we've been working on. In this fourth video of the series, we're going to create an assembly that uses the parts from Part Studio 1 and Part Studio 2. So here I am in Part Studio 1. Here's the part from Part Studio 2. I'm going to combine both of these into what's called an assembly. So here you can see an assembly where the parts have been joined together the way you would when you solve this very simple puzzle that we've created. Okay, so the idea is that what you're learning in these videos, you're going to apply to your 5-part puzzle cube that we're creating with our teams. So let's get started building our own assembly. You can see that this is assembly 2 for me. I've got an assembly 1 because I've been practicing with this quite a bit. Okay, here we go. Anytime we want to create a new page in our document, we come down to the plus in the lower left-hand corner, and we are going to create an assembly this time. So create assembly. I'm creating assembly number 3. For you guys, this should be assembly number 1. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is insert our parts. So I click on Insert, and it gives me this list of part studios that I can import. So I'm just going to click on Part Studio 1. There it is. Part Studio 2. There it is. And now we can see that they are aligned, but not the way we want them aligned. We need to basically solve this puzzle in the virtual world. This is a really valuable tool in Onshape. You can build parts that are meant to work together, and before you go and print them, make sure that they actually do work together by creating an assembly. So let's start. I don't know why it's moved. Okay, let's start by clicking the green check mark. Okay, and now as I have played with this, I've gotten better at it. At first, I was having a lot of trouble, and now it's working much more easily for me. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to click on this part 1, and it gives me these 3 arrows and those 3 circles. With the arrows, I can move them back and forth. Okay? And with the circles, I can spin them. So let me click on one of those circles, and we're going to spin this 180 degrees. So I'm just going to spin it a little bit, and then I'll type in 180. And that orients it to the direction it needs to point to pair up with the other part. So now, what I've found is if I get it floating out in space like this, I'm going to lift it up above where it needs to be. I'm going to move it to the right beyond where it needs to be. Okay? And I'm going to move it forward beyond where it needs to be. So, in other words, it's beyond where it needs to be in each of those directions. So when I pair up 2 of the planes, all 3 of the planes that need to pair up will move to where they need to be. Before I figured this out, I was having to pair up every plane. Okay, so now they're just kind of floating in space to where they can all come straight together. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, and we've got a lot of tools up here for pairing different types of objects. Pairing cylinders, pairing pins that go into holes, different connectors, fasteners, pairing fasteners. But what we're trying to do is line up matching planes. So we're going to use this planar mate. So it opens that pop-up window for me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the two faces or planes that I want to align with each other. So there's one, and now I need to spin around, and the plane I want it to pair up with is this plane right here. So those are the two planes that I want to pair up. And notice all three planes, since I was beyond in each direction, have now paired up nicely. So that's it. I've created an assembly. Until you practice with this, it may be more difficult for you, but it's really gotten easier for me as I've played with it. So, you know, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Try it. If it doesn't work out, undo it. Try again. Okay, that's all I can tell you. So I'm going to accept this, and there is my assembly. Okay, now I'm going to close, let's see, planar 2. I don't need that, I don't think. So what I want to do now, I think if I click on one, let's see if I can select both and move them together. Nope, I cannot do that. So I'm going to undo that. What I'm going to do is just, I want to get it more centered. So what I'm going to do is zoom out and then put my arrow on the side I want it to move away from. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, and now I can spin around and look at it from different angles. Let's get an isometric view here. There we go. Okay. And that's it for the assembly. You can make a drawing of this assembly now if you want.